We'll see right now. It'll be real quick. I think you guys are stuck at some spot, right? Okay, so in this lab, we're going to use Windows 10 virtual machine. I forgot to remove the other section in part B. But just like last time, you're going to copy the folder over to your desktop from the external hard drive, right? And then once you have it like this, open up your VirtualBox, add it, find your folder that you copy. Just a side tip, right? If whenever that you copy the folder and if there's already logs folder within, just delete the logs in the copy folder because likely that the logs might prevent you from booting the machine. Sometimes it doesn't, but if it does, only remove the logs. Delete the folder. Okay. So as I already boot the virtual machine, it keeps track of that, right? So it creates the logs there. So open up your VBox file and load your machine. Mine is currently running. I logged in. So go through part A and disregard part B, step 1 through 6, because I think I forgot to remove those steps, but they are similar. Then in your virtual machine, you are going to open up Microsoft Management Console. And you simply, on the search bar of your VM, you just type in MMC for Microsoft Management Console, and you're going to see the icon as a red toolbox. This is a blank console. We're going to add in the right tool. So when you're presented with this message, click yes. So in your Microsoft Management Console, we can customize the tools in our toolbox, right? So you're going to click File, Add or Remove Snap-in, which is step 2 after you boot your virtual machine. I should relabel these steps. I'll fix that when we're done. And you're presented with the menu options on what tools you want to add. So we would go down. Now, it really depends on management, what you're trying to do. If you're adding permissions with certificate, you would add the proper tool. So today, we're only going to use certificates, right? So it tells you that once you present it with the add or remove snap-in options, you're going to scroll down and you're going to click certificate. Once you click add, because this system is a client system, we're just going to do for my user account. Okay. So it tells you that here. I'm sorry. It tells you to select computer account and then go next. We're going to keep it on the local computer because we're not doing it from the network standpoint. And then we're just going to go finish. So once you add the certificate option, make sure you go through and add for the local system. And then we're going to click OK. So now if you want to add more, you can just go File, Add or Remove Snap-in, and then you can add more, right? So it will take that off your list for the add capability. So some screenshot there. And then what we're going to do is we're going to expand this. And we can always drag this division bar to the right or the left. And you can adjust this to your view that you like. Okay. So on the MMC, we're going to expand the certificate. So click the arrow next to it. And we talked about trust authority earlier. So I want to show you what that looks like. So under here, you're going to go to Trust Root Certificate Authority, which is the second option from that submenu. And then you're going to click Certificates. Okay. So these, it's going to tell you on the bottom how many certificates that is. Usually Microsoft is really good at summarizing. So yes, you can count those. But it tells you down here that total overall, I have 18 certificates. You notice that this virtual machine is we don't really use it for much, right? So it doesn't, but as you look at this at your home computer, on your home computer, it will be slightly different as you have certificates that are third vendor to a certain website for the service that you use. Okay. So it tells me the number of the certificate here. So look at the bottom. And then for B, are there any kind of expired certificates? So if I wanted to go look at expiration, I would look at that here, right? I have one for 2004. And then there's one here. So you can look at the expiration year and date. And then 2020. So 1, 2, 3, 4 for mine. Right, I have a 2020, 2004, that's 2, 2021, that's 3, 20, that's 4, maybe 5, 6. Okay. And sometimes you will also see status, whether it's revoked or reissued. Right, so look at the expiration date. And then on the left side, you're going to see which one is a third party certificate. So right here, right, on the left pane, you can click on the third party root certificate. So that's down here on the left. And these are certificates that are given by other entity outside of Microsoft. So under the third party root, it's going to list a certificate folder. If you click on it, it would tell that here. And here is where you see a lot of differences from system to system based on its use. So I do have, a few root CA ones. So after we looked at the third party, so it tells me that I have 6 overall certificate for third party. Look at the bottom of the screen again, or the window. And then I'm going to identify 2, right, that is issued. You can select any of these. So I have DigiCert and then a couple others. So this one is an encryption one right here. You can see Microsoft RSA root certificate. Now you can always double click it to view its properties. Or you can right click it and then go to properties. It's the same thing, right? Actually, when you double click, it gives you more of a general information compared to right click and go to properties, where you can actually see the property of that. It does give you the general, but it also give you like related certificate and then validations and stuff, right? This is where you can configure. Okay. So we can just identify the 2 that you want to list from this group. And then we can double click the first one. So in my case, I have a class 3 public primary. And the purpose of this, it tells you that this has been revoked, right? Because it's already long expired. Or it's no longer used. So the details, if you click on the details, it will tell you like who issued it, when. The public key information is there. We talked about that today, right? And then all the key information. So for me, this one has been revoked. And then the signature algorithm, it is an MD2 RSA. So the purpose of this particular certificate, because it's tied to VeriSign Class 3, that is just a digital trust for web. You know, whenever you go to a website, it says that trusted by VeriSign, that's the logo, right? That is footprinting for web. So, but it's been revoked. So you don't have a lot of information once it's been revoked. But if I go to the next one, since it's not revoked, it tells you all the purpose of it there, right? So if you have a revoked certificate, there's not a lot of detail that you can get. So go to the next one. So I have one, this one is by DigiCert, and it's really for proof of identity, making sure that the software is legitimate from the publisher, and then protect email messages and remote systems, right? And then on the right pane, you should see who provide that certificate, or you can also look at, you know, who issued by. So when you double click, it gives you that same information. Any questions? Okay. And the expiration date. So it doesn't expire for me for the second certificate is till 30/31. Now, when we come back here, you can go to details pane. And then on the details pane, if you look, it's going to give you all the information about that particular certificate, right? So signature algorithm, the second one is a SHA-1 RSA compared to the other one, which is different, right? MD2 RSA. And then for the signature hash, it's a SHA-1. And then for type of public key use, so as you go down here, this is the public key is RSA. And the size of it is 2048 for me. So I chose the second one because the first one been revoked, so I couldn't use it. And then the path information. So if you click on certification path, it tells you here. Now, we can't really view the certificate, right? But we can view some details about it here. And then the status, sorry, it's a little laggy. On the right side, if you find any kind of status, if not, just put NA. Okay, so some of you are waiting right here. So once I'm done with that part, I'm going to open up. You can save this if you wish. I'm going to close with no. Make sure that we run it as administrator. Trying to leverage so we can still see. So open up CMD. Before we click it on the right side, click run as admin. When this pop up, click yes. And then we're gonna use similar to what we did earlier, cert util dash or space dash enum store. Okay, so you get a bunch of information. It's the same thing as looking at all those certs when you were in the MMC or Microsoft Management Console. Sometimes on the command line or command prompt level, you get additional information, but this is just like when you first open it up and it tells you, oh, what other certificates are there, right? Now, remember how when we add the certificate from Microsoft Management Console, we select like which level that is, and I have you do computer account for the local system. When you run it this way, it automatically add the user account, okay? And for the local machine. So it just default to that unless you specify other things in your command. Okay, so here it lists all the categories of certificate that I have. Okay. My root, and then there's trust, CA, and other area. And as I say, I is the user, right, in the system, okay? So you know that when you do this, you do the enum store. That's a store certificate based on the user account in that system, the local system. Any questions? So how many of these? You can count them up. So 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, 12, 14, 16, 16. And then for your certificate 0, let me see. It doesn't really give you specific ones. So for your first certificate, you can just say that it is gonna be, so for the current service, the user for based on group policy. Yeah, you can just list it. It won't be specific. So you can say that it is a personal certificate for my root. So we can only, I think that Microsoft had modified this. I think you have to enumerate through the actual each certificate to see. So don't worry about C, D, or E. I'm gonna blue those out. So only answer A or B. Now we're gonna try PowerShell. So once we're done with this, right? And if you're not sure, you can also do CertUtil help or use Microsoft website to look up some additional options you can use. Then in PowerShell, we want to open up PowerShell in the virtual machine. And we want to run it as admin. And in PowerShell, we're going to do a dir cert for current user. And we're going to look into root. Let's see if it's going to, yeah. So earlier in command prompt, you saw that when we just run the enum store, it's pushed the current user account for certificate, right? Basically, it lays out, these are the certificate that you have based on the certificate user. Now, when you're doing like this, basically you're accessing the container that contains certificate for the current user that are root certificate, okay? So it's listing all of these. So all it is it's thumbprinting the string which represent each of the certificate. And you know who's the authority, right? So your CN is gonna be for the authority who provided that. And then the DC, which is your domain controller, and you know, all of that. So it's gonna give you all each of these options, and these are. So take a screenshot. We can count these up 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, 12, 14, 16, 18. And it includes all my third party as well. As you can saw earlier, we looked at DigiCert, right? Those are the third party ones. So it has the root and the third party ones combined for my user account. Okay. So this gives you an overall view of what certificates are there for that particular user. In PowerShell, we would use the directory that contained this, compared to in command prompt, we use CertUtil and its option. Okay. All right. So now what we're gonna do is we are gonna find another way to look at your root certificates. So open up your File Explorer within. So click on the folder icon on your taskbar. Right, that's your file manager within Microsoft. And then on your bar right here, you can just type in percentage app data. And then we're gonna go Microsoft. So just type in the path. System certificate. Do you see that start to appear? And then we're gonna go into root. So earlier you saw my, right? If you wanted to see that one, just put my. Now we're gonna go into root. And we're gonna go into certificates. Stick to root only. Cannot find system certificates. Let's go here. Yeah, I don't, so, okay. We don't have root level here. So you would just go here and then I would recommend using my. So it's only showing my certificates. So let me modify that. Yeah, they changed from 10. So you're able to do my and certificates, which is nothing, right? But if you go back one level or two level, you can see that under system certificates, you know, they have other subfolder, but because we don't have much of a usage for this particular account with most things, as it is a pretty fairly new virtual machines, so you don't see a lot of things happening here. But if you have accounts that have a lot of different access level to applications and web data and all of that, your certificate folder content also change. Okay. So we're not able to see much of the root because it was never really given any kind of root for system certificate. But this is a way that you can navigate through the File Explorer. So take a screenshot. So do I have any kind of certificates that's listed under this? No, I don't really. So if you go into here, I have none. Right? And it doesn't, so you notice that when you do the app data, it pushes, this is the default, is it goes into the roaming Microsoft account, right? That can also be a difference with the credential as well. So this is your roaming profile for your certificate. But if we go back to, let me see, app data, but instead of roaming, if we use local, it doesn't really lead you to certificate stuff. Notice that? Yeah, I didn't like that how they separate these things. Most of your applications are cloud-based, and if it's cloud-based, it's going to be under roaming profile. So for Microsoft, right, your system certificates, it only lists what it has. So if we don't generate or we don't have certificate that's issued to us, there will be none there. So 0. Any question relating to this? So make sure we know how to locate this in Microsoft Windows client system. And then next we're gonna use encrypting file system, which is EFS in Windows, right? So on your search bar inside your Windows system, we're gonna search for services. So let's close this. And services management console is going to come up. Everything that's running or stopping or pausing is going to be listed here as far as your service. And encryption is one of them. Okay. So in the services console, you're going to click on the name to sort it. I think it's already A through Z. So if you go into encrypting file system, you can just scroll down. Your EFS is here. And it says it's manually triggered. So when you right click and select that option, if you're using, NTFS, NT file system, then it's going to trigger that, right? So it is manually triggered compared to other services that are automatically already running as the system already booted, right? So it tells you to look at services, go to EFS, view how it start up. So the startup type is right here. So it's manually triggered. It's on the local system. Now, if you change this, I put down a note that if I want to modify this, right, I can go to its property or I can start it. But in order to take effect on how the startup is, you need to make sure that you reboot. Okay, so anytime you change that, you need to make sure that it is effective upon reboot. Okay, so let's make things so we can encrypt. So we can close the services, right? You can right click on your desktop, new, make a folder. We can call this folder test1. And then inside the folder, you can double click it. And then you can right click or even outside, click new. So in here, I can, sorry. Let's go. File. Let's pick it up a little bit so we can see the drop down. So right click inside the folder, click new, and then we're just going to make a text document to make it easy. And in our test document, we're also going to call it test1 file. So it's going to be test1.txt. So we have a test1 folder and a test1 document. Then we can close it. And now we see it on our desktop. You can right click this, go to properties. And in order to use this encryption, you click advanced. Right? Again, right click the folder, properties, and click advanced. This is only possible if we install the OS with NTFS. It uses EFS, right? If you install this with FAT, which most people don't anymore, it won't have this option. And so now in Windows system, you can only do compress or encrypt. It won't let you do both because it's a way that they can modify the file header or the container header to carry a certain attribute. So we would choose encrypt. And then if you want all the sub-content, you keep this checkbox. If you don't want the sub-content to carry or inherit the same attributes, then you uncheck it. So we're going to click OK and apply. And it's going to say that, oh, it's going to apply all the changes to all the content inside, including the subfolder. Sure. Right? And then click OK. And you notice now that the little lock appeared. Now, in the older version of Windows, like Windows 7, they used to modify the color, but then Microsoft, of course, they went back and say changing the color for people who are not able to distinguish the color might not be a good idea. So they had put a little lock icon. So when you see this, you know that it is encrypted, right? Mm-hmm. Yeah, so only answer A and B for that one. Yeah. You won't be able to see because there's no additional root or any additional certificate that contain information. So only answer A and B for that one. Okay, so we have encrypted the test one folder and its content. Right? So there's no change in color, but you can say that it added the lock, right? So the change in color only happened in the prior to Windows 10, which is Windows 7. Then we're gonna open up the command prompt and we're gonna make a folder. So CMD. And you don't have to run this at admin, but I'm gonna run it as admin. So in the next step, it's gonna tell you to access desktop and make a folder called test2. So here, I'm gonna go ahead and do a CD desktop. Oh. Let's see. Maybe I don't need. That's interesting. We don't need run as admin. So let's see, CD desktop. Yeah. So you don't need run as admin. So access it and then as a regular user and then do CD desktop. Once you're in the desktop, we're gonna go ahead and do a make directory, mkdir, and we're gonna name it test2. So we're gonna make a folder called test2 on the desktop. And then inside it, we are gonna then access test2 folder. So CD test2. Now, once we're inside the test2 folder, after we made it, then we are going to create a file. And you can do several way. Echo is the easiest one that you append text to a file. So just like what we did earlier, we're going to do an echo, put it in quotation mark. This is secret. What is it? 2 file, whatever that you want to put here. And point it to, right, test2.txt. Oh, I had a typo, sorry. Missing an O. Okay, so once we have the file, the test2 file created inside the test2 folder, you can use a command called cipher. And if you use a /E, it's going to encrypt. So now before we do that, we want to check its content, right? The folder content. So now I'm going to do a dir. So this is like ls in Linux. So dir is going to list everything inside that folder. So I see that this is my test2.txt that I created. And then now I'm going to go ahead and do a cipher command, right? But I need to so we're going to do a cipher /E. So when we're inside the folder, it's going to encrypt what it can with the content. You notice that because we only have one file here, it says one file, right? It's going to encrypt the file within. So if you want to be specific on what you encrypt, you can also use additional things that added to the command. But since we're in that directory, it's going to encrypt the content. Now go back to the desktop. Right? So how is this different than this one? Well, the encryption happens on the inside of test2 folder compared to on the outside of test1 folder. Okay. Because we are in the directory when we issue the cipher E, it's going to encrypt the inside of the test2, where in test1, when we right click the folder and we choose encryption, it's going to encrypt the folder and whatever that's inside it. So that's different. Now, if we go on the outside, so if I do cd ... right, I move back one step. And if I do cipher E, it's going to encrypt everything on my desktop. You see how the difference is? So if I move back to the desktop, CD desktop or CD ... and if I do a cipher E, it's going to encrypt the outside of the test2. Versus earlier, I already inside the folder, when I encrypt, it only encrypts the file within, right? But if you move out one level to the desktop area, so I did a CD ... I move back one level, so it takes me back to desktop. And if you issue cipher E, it's exactly the same as test1. So your path, your location currently really is important in command prompt on how you encrypt. If you want to encrypt only what's inside that folder, you access the folder inside and then encrypt it. But if you want to encrypt the entire folder and carry the inheritance, you would move back one level, which is the desktop, and then encrypt the folder or everything else on the desktop, right? So now we have this encryption. So even if test1 is not encrypted or I have other folder, if I do cipher E, it's going to encrypt all the other folders too. So that's a quicker way to do it through command prompt. Any question? So now I need to decrypt test1, right? So what we're going to do is we are going to go back here and we're going to do cd test1, which is the folder. And we're going to do a cipher/d to decrypt. Now, what it's going to do is it's going to, you notice the lock is still there, but it decrypts the content. Because why? Because we're inside the folder when we do a cd test1 right here, right? You open up that folder and you only decrypt the inside of that folder, which is one file. Now, if you want to decrypt the folder itself and also its content, you got to move back one level, cd ... which is the desktop. Now, if you do a cipher D, it's going to decrypt all the folders on the desktop. So your path is really important. If you're in the desktop, I can decrypt both folder in one shot by doing a cipher D. But if I'm inside each folder, it's going to only decrypt what's inside that folder. Understand? Any question? Sure. What's your question? What are you doing? Yeah, so open this up. That's your file explorer. No, in here. Are you sure it's this one or it's that one? It looks like it's on the outside. This one. Do everything on the inside of the machine. Okay. And then type that in. But instead of root, only go up to so only go up to system certificate and then open up the folder that's within that, okay? Which is mine. All right, so I think at the end, we can just safely say, right, what have we learned in this lab about certificate configuration? You can use Microsoft Management Console, MMC, and add certificate utility, I should say. Or you can use command prompt, and command prompt use cert util. You can use PowerShell, right? We access the directory that contains the certificate. And then we can view certificate information within each of the option. And then for EFS, we already learned how to do encryption using command prompt, using cipher with the option E /E for encryption and /D for decryption. And it depends on whether you're inside the folder or outside the folder. If you want to encrypt the folder, you have to be outside of it. If you want to encrypt what's inside the folder, its files, then you can change the directory into that folder, right? So that's important to know. All right, let me stop the video.